Okay, as in go? Sorry, 1 second.
Forktales, a podcast that feeds the food and beverage world.
Oh, awesome. Forktales is brought to you by Vigor, a branding and marketing agency for passion-driven, innovative restaurant, beverage, and hospitality brands. Learn more at vigorbranding.com. If you love what we're serving up, please give Forktales a 5-star review on your podcast service of choice. Think of it as a tip for good service.
Cool. Hey everyone, today I am joined by Adam Golomb. He's the president and CMO of Primanti Brothers out of, based in Western PA, but rapidly growing. Adam, thanks for coming on the show. Say hello and give a little bit of history.
Yeah. Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me. Adam Golomb, Primanti Brothers, 89-year-old iconic restaurant chain based in Pittsburgh. I'm the president, chief marketing officer. Just celebrated 3 years with the brand, but have about 20 plus years in restaurant, grocery store, convenience store marketing, and business management.
Nice. So so I know because I grew up around a bunch of Steelers fans. So Primanti is an institution, to say the least. If you've watched any football games that are based in the Steelers nation, as it were, they probably covered Primanti every once in a while. But for those that don't know, explain the magic of Primanti Brothers.
Yeah. So first off, huge Steelers win last night. End of the Big Ben era, probably. I think he's still going to come back for another year just to pull it over everybody. But founded in 1933. The idea was, it was a sandwich cart, and the idea was that, and there's about 5 different stories out there, but truck drivers in the produce yards of Pittsburgh only had one hand to eat. So Joe Primanti had this brilliant idea of taking French fries, coleslaw, tomatoes, cheese, and meat, and putting it all between 2 fresh baked slices of Italian bread. And fast forward to 2022, the brand is thriving, growing, but still true to its iconic roots. Tied to this amazing iconic sandwich. We call it almost famous, but it truly is a famous sandwich. And it's got great ties to Pittsburgh, but it's really been able to transcend the Pittsburgh Steelers and grow beyond that into kind of the enemy territories.
Yeah, it's actually amazing. I mean, rare is the case that I really focus in on food. Of course, food matters. The quality of the food, the flavor of the food, people liking it, of course, matters. But usually it's so much more. And I think with Primanti, it really does start with that iconic sandwich. It is truly a game day decadent meal. It is delicious.
It's like a pound of food. Little unknown fact: there is less calories in a Primanti sandwich than in a Chipotle burrito. So,
oh well,
you can that little unknown fact, but yeah, I mean, it is a decadent, unbelievable kind of like all meal in one thing sandwich. Often imitated, never duplicated. And then as the years have gone on, we'd love to have everyone have a sandwich every time they come in, but we know that people want more than that. So we've expanded our menu with pizza and wings, salads, burgers, really grown the menu to give you kind of more variety, even though the sandwich is still the hero of the concept.
Yeah, and a hero it is for sure. And it's definitely talked about. I mean, once you've had a Primanti sandwich, you tend to tell a lot of people. Back in 2018, you joined the brand as CMO. And then after a few years, you took the helm, as president, and you've been doing a lot of great things there. What, in your opinion, has been the key to the success in your efforts for the brand and for your career as a whole? Because I think there's 2 questions there. One is like, I'm a budding marketing person who wants to grow in the restaurant industry. So there's that whole tract of your professional career. But then Primanti's been growing, like you've said, and this is a legacy. Could be a legacy brand, but yet it's maintained relevance and continues to thrive. So some tips and ideas of what have gotten you there.
Yeah, I think that's the first thing. I mean, for 89 years old, we're still relevant. We're not an oldies act. I've watched many brands come and go, and Few have stayed relevant over the years. So I think that's the first thing is we've stayed relevant. I think it's being up to the times, but also being kind of to the past. But we've embraced technology in a big way. We look like the smartest people in the room because we did a lot of things pre-pandemic. We are anything but the smartest people in the room. From a tech investment, I think we just made some really right decisions. But the big thing I brought, my last job before joining Primanti's was with Giant Eagle, which is a large grocery convenience retailer, about 500 locations, but has the number one loyalty program in the grocery industry. And I brought a lot of the thinking that I learned there over my 7 years there to the restaurant space of really insights based decision making. How do you find things that make sense to people? How do you find things that in your data and bring it to life in a restaurant was still the magic of an 89-year-old brand. So we've got a lot. It's like the Willy Wonka or the Wizard of Oz. We got a lot of things going behind the scenes that we call our customers fans. That the fan doesn't notice, but it allows us to communicate with them in a very efficient one-to-one method. On a smaller brand, we're punching way above our weight class with kind of the marketing technology stack we built.
I was really impressed by that when you started talking to me about some of the things that you've been using, how you've been integrating them, and the strides you've made forward. And what I found with a lot of brands of similar size of Primanti is getting that buy-in from leadership. A lot of times is a little difficult. They see it as an expense, not an investment. They're unsure of the return. If you could, without giving away the secret sauce, talk about some of those systems that you have been integrating, some of the data that you have been pulling in and how you're using it, but also how did you get that buy-in from higher ups that may have been a little bit more resistant to the idea?
Yeah. I mean, I think let's start with the buy-in piece. I mean, I was brought in to kind of, what had got us there wasn't going to get us where we needed to go. I think I have tremendous respect for the brand. I grew up with Primanti, so I mean, huge respect for it. But what the marketing plan of the kind of the 2015 to 2018 wasn't going to get us, to 2025, even without the pandemic. I mean, no one knew that was coming, but we knew we needed to make some digital strides. And, it started with our CEO, our board embracing kind of the plan I laid out, and then it was getting kind of finance, IT on board. I'm sure there are days the IT team does not, thoroughly love the work we bring. But we have a strong point of sale platform underneath it all, NCR Aloha. That's the basis of everything we do is integrating into our point of sale. And then went out and looked at the marketplace and tried to understand, are there best in class people, or do you need to find somebody that can do it all? And after looking in the space, there really isn't anyone that can do it all good. So we went out and put together a good marketing tech stack with a bunch of people that integrate into each other, that were kind of best in class in their segment, and build it off that.
Yeah, the integration thing I think has been one of the biggest kickers. I mean, as technology grows and innovation grows outside of the restaurant space, it seems like you have legacy systems like, NCR Aloha is they've been around forever, who have tried to backfill that integration and connectivity. And then you have systems like, let's say Q, which they've been on the show, they're friends, but they built their system API forward for integration. And it just seems like there's a gamut in between that all these different systems. And if you're not careful, you end up with these software as a service, like almost death by a thousand cuts when it comes to the monthly price. How have you negotiated prices that fit your budget, found the systems that truly do integrate and don't just say it? I assume that's been a bit of a challenge.
Yeah. I mean, I think we've looked for, we do a lot of software as a service. So death by a thousand cuts is probably the model we go with. But I think we look for partners like Olo, like Paytronics, that are best in their space, and try to bolt it on. It actually, from a software as a service standpoint, having 40 locations, it's actually very affordable because you can get big time systems and you don't have to, build things. Also, Giant Eagle, we had 400 people in IT. We had 80 to 100 people who woke up every day and all they thought about was the loyalty program. And coming into Primanti's, I knew we weren't going to build that. So that was, I think, also a realization that you need to go out and find people that can build things for you. that are building them for bigger restaurant chains, that have a roadmap, that are delivering product enhancements, that allow you to be part of that roadmap. That was really key to us also, was like trying to find partners because we're never going to be anyone's biggest client, nor should I ever be anyone's biggest client at my size. So it was like finding people that respected the brand, respected us, knew we were never going to be their biggest client, but knew we could do a lot of cool things and would allow us into kind of their footprint. That was really important as we looked at partners.
Yeah, and it seems like you found a nice suite that really do talk to each other. We come up upon tech stacks where salespeople say they integrate, and maybe they sort of do, but not quite to the level that we were looking for. But integration's one layer. I think it's once you have that stuff integrated and you're getting data, and it's the learning level where I think a lot of brands fall short, because you can easily set it and forget it. You can easily say, here's our loyalty system, buy 9, get the 10th free, or, here's your deal for signing up. What's been your approach to leveraging and really maximizing the opportunity from the data that you're getting?
So I think it's a couple things. One, we do have a kind of a set it and forget it, but the set it and forget it to get the data, because you need something for people to give you their data. Especially in today's environment. So that's the first thing. We do have I call it a set and forget it. We are actively always looking at it. But then, I use the analogy when I came in is it was 3rd and 10, in football analogy, it's 3rd and 10, and we were running the same play and expecting different results.
Is that a Raiders joke? It's kind of
it might have been Steelers. It might have been half the Steelers season. 3rd and 10, and we're doing, quick passes. But that was really the key to the team, was that, and then partnering with great partners and their teams and their analytics teams to try to understand and look for things in the data, and then trying things. I think it's the biggest thing. I believe in this idea of do it wrong quickly. Kind of stole that from Google, but the idea of trying a couple different things and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. I tell the team, if we're not failing, we're not trying enough. If we're doing 10 tests and all we're successful, we didn't push the limits to where we need to go. To try some things that aren't going to be successful. So, it's really try things, learn, keep tweaking. Don't settle in. Always try to beat the best case. So, I think the big opportunity for us as we look into kind of 2022 is a lot of email, SMS, subject line, message testing to understand like which messages resonate the most in driving traffic through the door.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny. I'm on this losing mission to eliminate the word blast from the vernacular associated with emails, because it's just such the wrong mentality. I wrote a book a few years ago called "Stop Blasting My Mama" that sought to help do that, because the idea is like the person receiving this, it's my mom, it's your mom, it's your dad. Like, don't blast them. They don't want to get blasted. They want something of value, and that doesn't necessarily mean a deal. It can mean an insider track or information or something that they know that someone else doesn't, just something of value. And as far as we've come with technology, email is still a fantastic media outlet to actually communicate with the people that want to hear from you.
I think I've told you this, Joe, is if you've never bought a kid's meal from us, I shouldn't be sending you kids' meal advertising.
Right.
So, I think that's the most base level thinking, is to start using the data. If you're a wing buyer, then let's give you wing messages that make sense to you. And then let's try to stretch you. In the grocery store business, there's something like 97% of Americans buy toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
Still trying to figure out where those 3% are that don't. And Nielsen brought that data to us when I was in grocery, and we started looking through our data, and it was like 30-40% of our customers had bought toilet paper from us. And then you kind of dig into the insights of why, and you go speak to people. And it was a lot about price and size. And, my shopping cart's already full. I can't fit it in there. But it was really about looking at messaging, looking at service, looking at all those things to try to get that toilet paper sale, because we know everyone's buying it. So how do we, how do we get that sale, which is once you get in the store, every sale adds up, and bringing that thinking to the restaurant space also.
Yeah, I think that's really important to actually not just like look at the data, acknowledge the data, but dig underneath it. And gosh, this sounds like trite Silicon Valley marketing speak, but what's the story behind the data? Mm-hmm. So I've said to a friend of mine recently, he was trying to throw stats at me to try to convince me of something. And I was like, that's all well and good. I was like, here's a stat for you. The majority of drownings happen because of water. Does that make water evil? No, it's just like, let's find out the story. The story that water may be the mechanism for the death, but what caused that scenario? Oh, people don't know how to swim. Okay, let's solve that problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of leaders maybe either fall short or don't do enough work to find that next layer or the layers below it where you can actually start to identify opportunities like you said. Are there any scenarios that you've encountered where that's gone well?
No, I mean, I think I can't think of anyone off the head, but I think it's the idea of asking why 5 times. So you keep peeling back that onion.
Yeah, is that Toyota, I believe?
That is Toyota, yeah.
Yeah.
So, been through the lean manufacturing process and the whole, world of Kaizen and all those things. And, the Toyota model was to keep asking the word why 5 times until you got to the answer. And I think it's the same thing of doing data, when you look at your data is to ask, is it causal? Is it correlated? On paper, you go, well, we're selling more of X. Well, why are we selling more of X? And trying to understand that and trying to do some basket analysis and trying to understand, are those things causal? Are they correlated? And keep asking the word why multiple times.
Yeah, it's a fantastic exercise. I think shameless plug, mentioned it in my book in trying to find out the purpose of a brand and really trying to dig in. But if we take the drown, just for people who are listening or unfamiliar, if we take the drowning and water scenario that I just brought up as a joke, but hey, majority of drowning deaths happen because of water. Why? Well, people are swimming in quarries. Why? Because they don't have access to public pools. Why? It's underfunded. Why is it underfunded? Because other funds have been placed elsewhere.
Right.
Okay, so now we kind of know at least a couple layers of issues that we could potentially fix. It could go another way too. Oh, the quarry doesn't have a fence around it. Why doesn't it have a fence around it? Because it's not required. And and I think these questions are really important to ask in a way that's not confrontational, but evocative. Making sure that people realize that they're safe at the table, like you said, to fail. And I think that's where, quite honestly, a lot of ad agencies and those who hold the relationships with those agencies fall short, where it's ad agencies are brought in to basically have the solution. And when there's a miss, it's immediately, well, they're horrible. They don't know what they're doing, or we can't trust them. Whereas I'm with you where it's like, yeah, we want success. We're on the same page, but you do have to dare to fail. You have to dare to miss the mark, but so long as you're learning from it, and growing from it. What are some pivots that you've had to do, or something that's been surprising, right? Like you put out a promotion or you put out a new product and you thought it was going to go gangbusters and it just didn't. And what did you learn from that?
I mean, I've had many of those in my life. I think there's always, I would say you get to a place where you speak to yourselves and you think something's better than it is. We've had those. I think we've had some of those learnings internally where we come up with an idea that we think's better, and it doesn't come to life. I think the early learning was to try to understand, we're only as good as the operations delivers on. So having, working with our operators to make sure things are executable is key. Pivot. I mean, we've pivoted so much in the last 2 years. We were pivoting daily from that standpoint. So I think that there was that piece to it. It was like almost a daily, a weekly pivot, and trying to understand. I think the biggest thing is trying to understand what our operations team can execute on and what they can't, and giving them things that they can execute on. Because if it's a greatest promotion in the world, but it can't be executed on operationally, it's a disaster.
Yeah, every single time. How do you guys go about, I guess, uplifting the skills of operations to make sure they actually can activate?
Yeah. I mean, it's hey, I have the benefit and the curse that I now oversee operations and marketing. So the benefit is I can get things done. The curse is I no longer can complain that operations can't get things done, and no longer can operations complain marketing can't get things done.
Yeah.
So that's the
you're like a Spider-Man meme where you're pointing at each other.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think it's first off building relationships. Coming in and finding out who are the people that will tell you the truth. And getting people that have good credibility in the system. So when we have ideas, those are the people I go to first. We've got some people that will test technology that are great testers of marketing technology that and are very honest with their feedback. The last thing you want is somebody to say it's great and then you roll it out and it's a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
I also, say, hey guys, this is your reputation. You're putting this out there that you're saying it's, it works. But that's always the first phase. Always go with my group of operators to understand what works, what doesn't work with them, get their thoughts. And then from there, usually we put it into a real world test, a couple locations, and then work out the kinks and then go to full rollout and iterate on feedback. Interesting enough, one of my tech testers is probably the worst at technology in our company, and he'll tell you that. But I always say if he can execute it, anyone can execute it.
I thought you were going to say it was my mom, but that's
no. So those are I think it's the key is having those relationships. Supplier relationships, supply chain can't be even more important today than it's ever been.
Right.
Making sure you build relationships with suppliers to make sure they have your product. Last thing you want to do is drive traffic into the restaurants and you don't have product available.
Right. Well, and so that uncovers a unique element of the tech scenario and the story, which is the usability, that user experience. And I feel like, historically, a lot of tech brands have created a system that actually works really well, like the underbelly, but it has this highly unusable face. And there's also that brand level of like, what is the Primanti experience versus Burger King versus a salad company, and how's it different? I think that's been one of the issues that I've had, let's say, with Olo, which is great system, best in class for a reason, but unless you invest a heap of capital into creating your own usability experience on top of it, you're really stuck with what they have. And there's seemed to date have been just giant divide between brand website, we'll call .com, and ordering experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think many people have really fused it well enough. Maybe Taco Bell a little bit, but they were built on Tilster last time I checked, which is a bit of a bumpy platform. How have you guys smoothed over that transition, and how have you been able to at least control enough of the the user experience to make it unique to Primanti's?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Olo's weakness is their front end. I tell them that to their face. They spent 3 years on that serve refresh. I was like, who spends 3 years developing a front end in this environment? But we built our own custom front end. We used a company called Capri out of Columbus, Ohio, that bolts into Olo. I think the biggest thing is we use the same design firm. A Pittsburgh design shop to do the design of our website and the design of our online ordering. So at least it feels together. We're in the process of redoing our online app so that everything feels like it comes out of the same platform, so it doesn't feel disjointed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the key. And for our size chain, we're thinking about this completely different than most people. I don't think very few 40 location chains are designing custom front ends to Olo.
Right.
So I think that's the key is you have to know what works for you. Also, I think for us, we want it to feel like the brand. We want to feel contemporary, but authentic and historic. We don't want to feel flashy. We're not sweet greens.
Right.
So it's how do you start with the design tenets and using a design firm that does a lot of our design work, and a Pittsburgh-based design firm that lives, eats, sleeps the brand has been powerful to at least keep the look and feel consistent across the board.
Mm-hmm.
And then, doing things behind the scenes like AI driven upsell recommendations. People don't need to know that's happening, just that the upsell recommendation makes sense to them when it comes to checkout.
Right.
That's the stuff that behind the scenes can be flashy and doesn't need to be, people don't need to know that's happening.
Yeah, like you said, if I'm checking out, I really don't need to get upselled to a kid's meal.
No, but if you have a drink in your cart, why would I suggest you another drink?
Right. It needs to be pretty intuitive.
Yeah.
And that seems to be missing as well. I mean, the systems are catching up, and I think one of the predictions I have for this year for the industry is we're going to start to see a bit of more convergence, either by way of acquisition and integration like that, or by rebuilding systems so they're stronger. Like, harping back on emails, I feel like email marketing is something that's tacked on to every tech system, but none of them do it very well. like being able to A/B split test, being able to create responsive emails, and the stuff that like Mailchimp and some others do very well. But we've got to start seeing some convergence happen. Otherwise, it is, your budget ends up being all these line items of software as a service, as opposed to like maybe one chunk that's a little bit less and optimized. I think that's something that we'd all like to see. And it even gets more exacerbated as you start to bring in third-party delivery and their fees and everything, which I don't vilify them for. I mean, that's their business model. And if you were good enough, you would create your own delivery system for your restaurant. But it's pretty tough. So what do you think the restaurant industry needs to, how do they need to adjust to get better at adopting and integrating tech? What needs to happen?
I think I think the biggest opportunity, and I used Magento when I did some e-commerce work, so I'll go back to Magento, but really Shopify probably is Magento of today. Magento was, unbelievable back in the day. But the idea of a plug and play ecosystem, where you don't need developers to plug a module in. I think that's where Olo could really take it to the next level. And they're getting there. They're starting to build an ecosystem. But my ability to go look and go, wow, there's this really cool chatbot tool that I could plug into Olo. Okay, well, here's the click this button, click that button, and it's live. And that's what Shopify and Magento. Yeah, I mean, that's Shopify and Magento built. And Shopify's, it allows a smaller person to rival the big guys. I think that's where the biggest opportunity comes, and I think just continue to integrate more. And it's been, we're pushing more and more stuff through the Olo platform. All third parties go through there because it makes operations life easier to have those orders automatically injected into the point of sale versus tablets.
Yeah, so, the bank of tablets that you see.
Yeah. That was a big Q4 initiative, was to get rid of tablets, which we've done. We still have 2 tablets. We still have Wisely, which is now Olo for waitlist. And it'll be interesting to see how Olo integrates them. And we have Flyby, which is our GPS curbside pickup system. So we still have tablets, but not all the tablets we had before for third party, which has been a real win for operations.
Yeah, and just user experience there too. I mean, it's ugly to see all that stuff. I mean,
and we've done nice jobs. Hey, I give our construction team a lot of credit and a lot of our operators credit to cleaning it up and getting some nice racking and charging stations, but still, tablets are tablets.
You end up with that like grandpa, power strip with all these wires. And I mean, you guys are a little bit lucky because, you do have a bar, but you are full service for all intents and purposes. Whereas, QSRs and fast casuals, I mean, you have that thing behind the counter. It's just an eyesore. So it's definitely something that has to be figured out.
Yeah, I think the other opportunity, which I haven't seen anyone do this yet, and I'm sure somebody out there has done it, but the ability to use an AI tool to look at volume in the restaurant and then throttle online ordering based on what's going on in the restaurant in real time. So there's many, even Olo has a throttling tool, but that looks at what's going on in online world, which doesn't know what's going on in the restaurant in real time.
Right.
So, I think that's the holy grail, to be able to say, okay, it's 2:00. There's no one in the restaurant. So normally I say 20 minutes for an online order, but since there's no one here, I can do it in 8 minutes.
Right.
Or it's 7:00 on a Friday night and my restaurant's packed and I can't pump out these orders in 20 minutes. In real time, looking at the queue in the restaurant and adjusting adjusting timing based on that, I think is the real win. And I think ultimately, we got to look at our kitchen. It's harder to go back and retrofit 40 kitchens, but we got to look at our kitchens going forward and understand, do we need equipment? Do we need process? Do we need layout to handle online? Online is not going away. Off-premise isn't going away. I hate to say new normal, but it is the new normal, that off-premise is a dramatically bigger chunk of the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. Measurable. And that's every single model. Cool. Well, so what's nice for Primanti's? What's the growth and future look like? What can we see coming down the pike, the turnpike to be exact?
Yeah, literally down the. So we just opened a location in November. I'm excited to open a location after about a year and a half. About an hour outside Pittsburgh, doing phenomenal. Traffic backups day of opening, unbelievable applicant flow. For new jobs. We've got a couple locations this year we're going to announce hopefully soon. We got one that we are just we are on like the 1 yard line. And then we've got, we're going to do some remodels, some expansions. We've got some opportunities out there in existing buildings, and invest in kind of the curbside. We rolled curbside out in about, I want to say 3 weeks, was probably shorter than that. We need to go back and make some facility improvements. One for the fan and two for our team. So it makes their lives easier to operate this takeout business. Continue to be digital, continue to drive loyalty. Online ordering we'll continue to focus on that and push it and improve it. At least constantly reiterate and iterate and try to make it better for the user. And but we're still going to be pumping out the sandwich. It's still about what we've done for 89 years. We're going to make some new items. Hopefully celebrate a Steelers Super Bowl. Maybe, maybe not. But it really excited about 2022. The company is coming off a great 2021. Really saw some great results. Fans just really embrace the brand, and we're excited as we get into 2022, and hope to have another 89 years.
I love it. So probably the most important question in the entire interview, which is, if it's your last night on Earth, what is the final meal and drink that you would have? It doesn't have to be a Primanti. It can just be in general.
No, I mean, I think, my wife and I did our honeymoon in Kauai at the Princeville Resort, and there's this room there called the living room, which is really they take part of the lobby and open up these windows over the ocean, and having sushi there. So that's that. I think that would be it. Our goal is to get back there at some point, for a anniversary trip, but that really would be where I'd end up. Probably, and see if we could get a Primanti sandwich there also next to the sushi.
I love it. Yeah, have it shipped in, at least until you can expand there. Adam, this has been fantastic. Thanks for your time, your insights,
thanks, Joe,
and your brilliance, and we'll talk real soon.
If you love what we served up, please follow us at Vigor Branding on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Medium. Forktales is produced by the team at Vigor. Audio and video post-productions provided by Zencaster. Music performed by Jet Trash and licensed through musicbed.com. Joseph handles his own hair, makeup, and stunts. Copyright 2003 to 2021, Vigor Graphic Design LLC, all rights reserved.